So welcome back to my channel. This is Dom and some work in progress. So I'm really pleased. I have been working through some of my Napoleonic backlog. I really enjoyed the game I had the other week with Graham playing Sharp Practice down at the club. Videos up on the channel. 60 points it was only, so relatively small, and we sort of blocked up the table with buildings that you couldn't enter, and the objective was to take a crossroads. So I believe it's a scenario that somebody else had posted, and it just worked really well. And I love Sharp Practice as a set of rules. They're really good fun for Napoleonics and AWI. But I've had a pile of so people who watch the show, who follow my channel, will be aware that I love the sort of obscurity, I guess, of certain units and nationalities in wars. One of the things I love about Napoleonics particularly is all those different states that there are. Nassau being one. So this is a unit of Nassau, my second unit of Nassau that I've put together. Now, purists amongst you, the Napoleonic Nazis, will realise that these aren't really Nassau figures. Well, some of them are. I bought a few metal ones to go in as the Grenadier Company, but these are just late war French, and I've adapted them to look like Nassau. And yeah, and I can live with that, so I have no problem with that at all. And I really like Nassau. And I was thinking about, why do I get so obsessed with the Nassau? Nassau, for those who don't know, small German state, and they fought on both sides. So most of the war they fought for Napoleon as part of the Confederacy of the Rhine, his sort of alliance of all the Germanic states, and so they fought for Napoleon for long periods of the war, most of the Napoleonic wars. But when he abdicated in 1814, a lot of the Germanic states switched sides and gave up fighting for him. And so when it came to the 100 Days War, the Battle of Waterloo campaign, the Nassau actually found themselves on the same side as the British, or the Allied army, against Napoleon. So these troops that had been on one side fought on the other, and they fought a particularly brutal part of the Battle of Quatre-Bras, and also D-Day, also Waterloo itself. And I remember reading books about Waterloo and the Waterloo campaign and being fascinated by these green-coated Germanic Nassau troops who fought. You know, you might have been forgiven for thinking they would, having only just become allies of the Allies, that they might have been, not quite so committed to the Napoleon's cause, but they were, and they fought viciously hard against the French. And I was fascinated by them, I think, from those sort of books. So hence why I'm a bit obsessed, and I've got 2 units now of 24 Nassau. Yeah, so this is them. They're finished. They're, as I say, they're late war Perry 28mm French figures that I've basically just given a better Nassau paint job, interspersed with, you can see here, a couple of, I can't even remember where I got them from, to be honest. These are Grenadier figures. They may have been from Perry as well, actually. Anyway, I can't remember, but they fit in nicely, and so I've tried to put a company of, assuming this is a battalion, I put 6 men as a Grenadier company, 6 men as Jaeger or light troops, and the rest are just regular line troops. So there you go, they're done. Really pleased to get them finished. They've been sitting out on the shelf unpainted, waiting to go for some considerable time, and just needed the inspiration of a good game to get them done. Hope you like them. Do you like my turny thing? Cake stand. Couple of quid. Yeah, I know. Stupid. So having done these Nassau figures, I was looking through my stash of unpainted lead and plastic, and found I had another box of French late war line infantry. And I thought, you know, the other group that really fascinates me from the Napoleonics who fought on the Allied side, because I can't possibly do French because they're French, it's the Brunswickers. So I thought I'd start on some Brunswickers. Again, purists will cringe that these are not the right, haven't got the right buttons or what have you, but you know, for me it doesn't matter too much. These are they've done the back unit here is the first of there will be 12 of them. There will be 24 of them. There's another load ready to go here, blacked out. That will be the regular line troops who wore the black outfits, black entirely. Now I've looked up lots of uniform guides. Some of them seem to have white sort of cross, what's it called, lacing across the front of their chests. Some didn't. I assume that actually when there was a dress uniform and a campaign uniform, and then obviously when they were actually in the field the uniforms changed considerably. So I've tried to just base it around sort of what would have been in the field uniform, so just use the black cross belts, the black belts, which just makes life a lot easier to paint, frankly. And so yeah, they're knocked up, ready to go. Might even put them on the table this week. And also, and these are the ones I'm not entirely sure I'll keep, but yeah, just for the sake of it, I had a few that look more skirmishy types within the box, so I formed these up as a group of Jaeger. Now, again, looking at some of the online references, and you know, I'm not an expert on Napoleonics by any means. The Jaeger, there were different forms of Jaeger within the Brunswicker Corps. So step back, Brunswickers were obviously Germanic again. Unlike the Nassau, they fought with the Allies pretty much through the whole war. From about 1806, I think it was where Prussia was trounced by Napoleon and humiliated into making peace. Battle of Jena, I think it was. Brunswicker, group of Brunswickers did not want to surrender, and so they marched across the country and across France, and were taken in by the Allies, by Britain. And from that point onwards, formed initially it was light infantry and cavalry, and then increasingly more and more ex-prisoners of war basically were taken out of the camps, Germanics, who fought for the Brunswickers, and they fought all the way through the Peninsular War, and then on to the 100-day campaign as well. And they were a fearsome bunch, actually. I mean, by Waterloo, they were more conscripts and not particularly good quality. But if you read some of the reports of the battles in Peninsula where they took part, they were pretty effective troops. Very stubborn, very aggressive, and wore these black uniforms, which made them stand out somewhat, or not stand out. They also had death's head badges on their shakos. Well, again, this is one of the areas and people will be able to help me. It seems to be certainly the cavalry wore the death's head badge on their caps, but I don't know about the infantry. I've seen mixed things, and maybe that's because infantry tended to wear a cover over their shakos when on campaign. But anyway, by the by, so the light infantry, there was definitely a group of light infantry who wore grey rather than black, but they had a sort of a hat, a shako which was more like a hat, which had sort of one side that went up, rather than the sort of traditional, should we sort of French style shako. However, I have seen some pictures of grey uniformed skirmishers using a regular shako. So I don't know. It's a purist look away now, because I don't know. But they were spare figures, and I thought, screw it, they're my army, I'm going to do it how I like. So that's a group of 6 skirmishers that will basically eventually, when I've done all 24 of the line troops, they can provide the skirmishers for that. So yeah, quite pleased how they came out, looking reasonably good, I think. So the other project I got through was these 2 carts. No idea where they're from in terms of manufacturer, because they're pretty old. So I picked these up. So sadly, one of the founders of our wargaming club, Farnborough Wargaming Society, died recently, and his family asked the club to sell off a lot of his wargaming effects. And you know, bear in mind this guy was pretty old, and the figures went back a long time. Lots of old minifigs and Hinchcliffes and everything else, 15 mils and what have you. But he also had some things like this. I bought some English Civil War figures that were unpainted that he obviously hadn't got around to doing, and some books. But also I bought these carts. They were pretty battered. They were well, very battered, very old-fashioned, and so I've just basically based them up and tarted them up a little bit. Not a huge degree, but I think they'll work well, just because often you find this sort of thing really, really useful in scenario games, and I thought it's too good a thing. The money was going to charity. It wasn't a huge amount of money, to be honest. I bought a whole job lot for not very much, and included these in there. I just thought they'd be really useful, so they were quite enjoyable to just sort of, I guess, as I say, just tart them up. This big one was in a very odd blue colour and just looked just a bit old really and battered, so I've just refitted it together, touched up, painted it, bit of wash on it and what have you. The horses didn't really need a huge amount of work. They were actually not bad, so I've just touched them up a little bit, did a bit of dry brushing on them, and again a bit of ink and what have you, just to trying to bring them out. Same the other cart, can't remember what colour that one was, but it was again fairly weird colour, so I've just sort of tried to I know what it was. All the wood struts in the middle weren't marked at all, so they were all the same colour, and it just looked a bit odd. So anyway, it's not beautiful, it's not fantastic, but it's just job done, and they'll be very useful, I think, for future gaming projects. Say particularly if you start to do mission based activities, having a couple of carts to use is going to be helpful. So there you go. So that's some of my figure backlog, which I'm really pleased about. So those Nassau have been sitting there for a long time. The box of French infantry I had becoming Brunswickers have been sitting around for yonks. I'd even forgotten I had them. I must have bought them as an impulse buy, as if I do such a thing. So I'm really pleased with that. Still no progress with these Spartans. Need to get back onto the boat, onto them. I'll try and finish off some Greek archers here because they're just easy and ready and simple to paint up. But I think my next project is going to be cracking on with some of the Russian Second World War bolt action figures. I've done a fair number of them, and I think I'll just crack on with a load more. Mind you, that said, I did find another box of Portuguese 28mm Perry figures, Warlord figures, so maybe I might do those instead. I don't know, whatever. It's always nice to have a few figures on the go. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, give it a like, and thanks for watching. Enjoy your games, have fun, and try not to take it too seriously, just have fun. That's the main thing. And I'll see you again soon. This is Dom signing out.